I'm about to give you the single most counterintuitive piece of Google Ads advice you'll hear this year. The best thing you can do to your Performance Max campaigns is stop touching them. I know, that sounds insane. You're paying Google thousands of dollars a month. Every instinct says you should be there every day, tweaking, adjusting, optimizing. But the advertisers who get the best results from Performance Max, they make fewer changes than you think, way fewer. And today I'm going to walk you through a complete Performance Max optimization playbook built around one deceptively simple idea. Here it is. Your job is not to drive Performance Max. Your job is to give it a destination and fuel. Then stay out of the way. That's the whole philosophy. Every tactic I'm about to share flows from that single principle. Write it down if you need to. Tape above your monitor. Because every time you're tempted to make a change, this sentence should be the filter you run it through. Hi, I'm Andrey. I help e-commerce brands and stores grow with Google Ads. Here's the plan for today. We'll start with the fundamentals, including whether Performance Max is even the right fit for your account. From there, we'll talk about how to build a sensible rhythm for making changes that includes bids and budgets, campaign structure, targeting, and finally how to improve the product feed and assets that power the entire system. Let's start with the first and most important question. Before we spend even a second on optimization, we need to be absolutely sure that Performance Max is the right tool for the job. So what's the real choice here? When it comes to Google Shopping ads, you essentially have two options: Standard Shopping and Performance Max. And the decision comes down to a classic trade-off: control versus simplicity. Standard Shopping puts you firmly in the driver's seat. You get more control over structure, bids, and priorities, which makes it ideal for larger businesses or brands with aggressive scaling goals. Performance Max, on the other hand, acts more like a co-pilot. It simplifies campaign management and bundles in search and remarketing automatically. That makes it a strong option for smaller businesses or teams that are short on time and resources. And this is where things get really interesting, because there is a critical data threshold that often determines which option actually performs better. This right here is the magic number, 30. If you are getting fewer than 30 shopping conversions a month, the PMax algorithm is basically starving. It doesn't have enough data, enough food to learn and get smart. If that's you, you absolutely should start with a standard shopping campaign. First build up that conversion history, then make the switch. Whenever you launch a new Performance Max campaign or make a significant change, like adjusting the budget or bidding strategy or restructuring an asset group, it enters a learning period that typically lasts about 5 to 7 days. During that time, results can look a bit unpredictable. That's normal, and it's not a reason to panic. The system is simply collecting data and figuring out what works. This leads to the most important takeaway: you have to let it learn. The biggest mistake you can make during this phase is reacting too quickly and starting to change things. Every major adjustment essentially resets the learning process and pushes you back to square one. With Performance Max, patience isn't just helpful. It's a core part of the strategy. So, if we're not supposed to be constantly fiddling with things, how do we actually manage these campaigns? Well, that leads us right into the core system for managing your campaigns, the optimization cadence. This is all about finding a rhythm that respects the algorithm's need for time and data. This chart really says it all. The ideal way to work is to spend the vast majority of your effort, we're talking 80%, on monthly big picture changes. Weekly tweaks should be minimal, maybe 15%, and daily changes almost nothing. The whole idea is to make fewer but much more strategic moves over a longer period. So, what falls into that tiny 5% slice for daily tasks? Honestly, emergencies only. Think about it like this. A huge Black Friday sale just ended, so you have to pull the budget back or hitting pause on something that's clearly broken. The only other thing that's safe to do daily is swapping out images and videos. That doesn't really mess with the algorithm, but that's literally it. Now, on a weekly basis, you've got a bit more wiggle room. This is a good time to make some minor tweaks to your ad copy or maybe turn on and off a handful of products. But notice I'm saying a few and minor. We're still trying to cause as little disruption as possible. Monthly changes, this is where the real strategy comes in. These are the higher level decisions you make on a regular basis, and they are the ones that actually move performance over time. At the core, this is mostly about bids and budgets. And really, that's just how you communicate your business goals to Google's algorithm. Your main tools here are target CPA and target ROAS. It's pretty straightforward. If you want more volume and you're willing to pay a bit more to get it, you increase your target CPA or lower your target ROAS. If you need to pull back and focus on profitability, you do the opposite. This is how you signal to the system what matters most right now, without overcomplicating things. Giving the system a full month between these big changes is absolute key. And when you do make these monthly changes to your budget on your bid targets, I want you to think about turning a giant cruise ship, not a speedboat. You need to make small, gradual adjustments. We're talking 10 to 20% at a time. Anything more is most likely going to shock the system and send it right back into that learning phase we want to avoid or at least minimize. But what about this classic PMax problem? Your campaign launches, it's great for several weeks, and then all of a sudden sales just go flat. What's going on? What's happening here is your campaign has probably already found all the low-hanging fruit. You know, the customers who are super easy to convert. To break through that plateau, you have to give the algorithm a little more room to explore. By gently lowering your ROAS target, you're basically saying, hey, go ahead and find me some new customers, even if they are a little more expensive to get. That's how you unlock that next level of growth. Let's move on to campaign structure. This is one of those areas that can feel more complicated than it needs to be, so let me simplify it. When it comes to PMax, simpler is almost always better. And yes, that's a theme here. In most cases, the best starting setup is a single PMax campaign that includes all of your products. So when does it actually make sense to restructure? You should only consider splitting a campaign if you can check at least 2 of these boxes. Think at least 60 shopping conversions per month. It's consistently hitting its daily budget cap. A small group of hero products is taking up most of the ad spend. And you have products with very different price points or profit margins. If you're nodding along to a couple of those, then yes, a split can give you more control. On the flip side, if you're running several Performance Max campaigns and none of them are performing well, combining them is often the smarter move. You're pulling the data, which gives the algorithm more signals to learn from and optimize against. Alright, structure and optimization cadence are covered. A good campaign structure also means knowing what to cut. Let's start with product. If a product is spending consistently and not generating sales, it's usually a good candidate to pause. You don't need to overthink this, you can simply exclude it directly in your listing groups so it stops being advertised. Next, let's talk about who sees your ads and, just as importantly, who doesn't. This is where you can make some very precise improvements to efficiency. The search term insights report is incredibly valuable, and it's worth spending real time here. It shows the actual search queries that are triggering your ads. You can use this data in a few ways to improve your ad messaging, refine your product titles in the feed, and even uncover new keyword ideas for standalone search campaigns. When you spot irrelevant search terms, you can block them using negative keywords, but this is where you need to be careful. The goal is to exclude terms that are clearly unrelated. For example, if you sell real furniture, blocking searches for toy furniture makes sense. But something like cheap furniture shouldn't automatically be excluded just because it hasn't converted yet. Remember, most customer journeys start broad. People usually get more specific as they move closer to a purchase. Here's another often overlooked money pit. You have to check your placement reports. You might be shocked to find your ads for, say, high-end power tools are running on kids' cartoon YouTube channels. It happens all the time when kids are using their parents' phones or tablets, and it's just throwing your money right down the drain. But the good news is you can apply a pre-made exclusion list. We're talking over 9,000 placements, and just like that, you instantly cut off all that wasted spend. You can get it from the link down below. Performance Max includes dynamic remarketing by default, which is great, but you should never just assume it's working correctly. A quick health check is to open Data Manager from the Tools menu and look for one specific parameter, ecom_prod ID. If that parameter is firing, it confirms that Google is correctly tracking which products users are viewing. And finally, let's touch on product feed optimization. This is where you give the algorithm the best possible inputs to work with, and the quality of those inputs directly affects your results. Your product feed is the foundation of your entire e-commerce advertising strategy, your titles, descriptions, images, and all the structured data behind them. This isn't a small tweak. It's one of the highest impact improvements you can make. A stronger feed leads to better ad relevance, higher click-through rates, and ultimately a much stronger return on ad spend. I go much more deeper in product feed optimization in a separate video. Now, for full asset Performance Max campaigns that include text assets, there is a tip that might sound a little counterintuitive. Google gives you up to 15 headline spots, but you don't need to use all of them. In fact, filling all 15 with very similar headlines usually doesn't give you any meaningful testing, it just creates noise. Instead, focus on 4 to 5 strong, clearly different headlines. Each one should test a distinct angle or benefit. Think of this as a structured quarterly testing process, not something you constantly tweak. Start with a few different approaches. For example, a couple of headlines might focus on the main keywords, another one on core benefit, and another one on social proof. Let that run for a few weeks, review the data, then double down on what's working and replace weaker headlines with new ideas. Over time, this creates a simple system for continuous improvement. Performance Max now also makes it much easier to review how individual headlines perform. To do this, go to Asset Groups, click View Asset Details, and add the following columns: cost, conversions, conversion value by cost, and conversion rate. Then simply filter by asset type, like headlines, to see what's actually pulling its weight at the asset level. We covered a lot. High-level strategy down to hands-on execution. So let's bring it back to what matters. Your Performance Max playbook. Don't over-optimize. Give the algorithm space and time to work. Make big moves monthly, not weekly, definitely not daily. Keep campaigns consolidated. More data, better result. Cut what's not working. Underperforming products, irrelevant placements, bad search terms. Invest in your product feed. It's the foundation of everything. Test ad copy with focus. 4 or 5 distinct headlines reviewed quarterly. Now it's your turn. Look at your campaigns through these lenses and ask yourself one question. Where is the single biggest opportunity right now? Is it your campaign structure, or product feed, or the optimization rhythm? You don't need to fix everything at once. Pick the one thing that would make the biggest difference and start there. If this was helpful, hit the like button and subscribe. I post new videos every week. Thanks for watching and have a great day.